Yo, yo, yo. Nah, we ain't doing that.
What?
Welcome back to Buff's Garage, where we are pretending to be B to the U to the double F.
Check this out.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to take this golf cart that we got for $400. It's got some issues, let's just say that. But in that, it does have a cool back seat for passengers that's worth the same price as what we paid for the golf cart. So on this episode, what we're gonna do is see if we can't pimp or buff this ride. Now the mark today is Becca. Becca's a hardworking nurse, and when she comes home on the weekends, she wants to just kind of relax. And part of that, being near the lake, is having a golf cart to cruise around on, so you're not firing up the car. And honestly, everybody drives a golf cart around here. So what we did was we snuck in and got it while she was at work, and we brought it back to the shop, and it's been here for the last few days, getting made over.
Do you think she's gonna like it?
So hang in there, it's gonna be a ride.
Associated with any of this.
On this episode of Buff's Garage, we're gonna take this old golf cart and see if we can't bring it back to life and maybe spruce it up. That one light is super bright in this whole area. Pretty great. This is one light. All right, here we are. This is the shed where Becca keeps her golf cart, and we're gonna sneak in here while she's gone. We're gonna grab it, and we're gonna take it back over to the shop. So as you can see, this thing is definitely had a rough life. It's missing the entire front end right here, and then we've got, you know, flat tires and worn out seats. It's in bad shape. But we picked this thing up for $400, and if you look in the back here, don't count the Segway, but the seat itself, that whole thing on the back is worth $400, and it quickly converts over into a truck bed that you can use for hauling whatever you need to haul around the lake here. And then when you've got guests, you just convert it back into seat mode. We even got a roof for the top of it, but you can see where they were trying to get it mounted up and snapped pieces off. So we'll have to try to work on that. Flat tire, that's fine. It does run, it needs some tuning up. The steering's pretty loose on this thing. And like I said, the whole front end's kind of missing. So we're gonna see if we can't fix all this up and get it lake worthy. Now here at the lake, we live in a golf cart community. And what that means is it's not necessarily like we have a lot of golf courses. I mean, there are a few around here, but what it means is most people drive around in golf carts or side-by-sides, and you know, those ATV things. But since I don't have an extra $20,000 to $50,000 to spend to go buy one of those jacked up monstrosities, we decided to find the cheapest golf cart we could find on Marketplace, and at $400 I think we got a really good deal on it. The thing does run, drive, kind of. It has some issues, as you'll see. We should be able to get this thing in pretty good working order to take us around, tootle around the lake. So we're going to dive in on this episode and see if we can't get this thing back into shape, running, driving, steering good, and looking good. Taking off these pieces, you can see there's quite a bit of dust and dirt and grime and everything underneath all of this. So we'll get all this cleaned up. This rubber trim was coming off anyway, so let's see if we can't just go ahead and finish peeling that off. Looks like it's got a rivet or something holding it in. Yeah, we can replace that with a self-tapper. We'll just get this thing stripped because we're going to give it a nice paint job figure out something on this seat, figure out the wheels and tires, and then of course we got to put a roof on this thing. And then, you know, we like to cruise around the lake in the evenings. It's getting darker out, so once we get something figured out on the front here, we need to go ahead and fix some lights or something on there so that we can see in the evenings when it gets dark out. This piece right here is going to be the perfect front bumper. Alright, we got our two pieces of metal here from the futon. That's not the ones we want. We want these. Clean them up a bit, but I'm going to make, out of this extra piece, I'm going to expand it a little bit and make a connecting collar to hold the two together. And then it'll have a centering bar on there. Oh, too far. There we go. Now, we'll get this one to fit on there. And get it centered. Get them all laying flat. Let's see if we can make some welds. And just like that, we've officially got more welds in the golf cart than we've got in the entire Travelall. So, scores points for that. Now since this metal is still super, super hot, the best idea right now is to manhandle it with our bare hands. And that way we get to get a better idea of kind of how we want this to come together. Do we want it to be a raked back, kind of sporty thing, or do we want it to be more raked forward? Well, no matter what we do, we're going to trim that up. But we've got the shape right. We just have to determine how far in or out we want it to go. That looks like one big old bumper to me. Okay, we're going to have this somewhere in this vicinity. We've got to figure out how to hook it into the front supports here so that when you give it a hard whack, hitting something, it transfers that energy to, I guess, the frame-ish. We'll take the rest of our futon and hook it in here somewhere. And then we can affix our lights in here somewhere. Well guys, I was working through the mock-up and I decided to go ahead and kind of wrap up the day. So I started taping things off, really trying hard not to go overboard on this one. I even started to sand it and I said, nope, time out, we're not doing that. So I basically put down tape just to make it easier on myself so I don't have to get as exact with the spray can. But I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down, and that's really above and beyond what I need to be doing right now. I'm not going to fall for it again, because once you go down that rabbit hole, we're not. So I'm going to give it a quick wipe down, and I'm going to shoot it with some paint, let it dry overnight, come back tomorrow, start working on the mechanicals to see if we can't give this thing a little bit more oomph, work on the steering, and then just kind of put it all together and see how it turns out. Grabbing my go-to, which is Super Clean. I almost feel like I'm going overboard cleaning the dirt off of it. That's how cautious I'm trying to be. I'm trying not to fall for this trap and end up putting a whole lot of time and effort into this. I want it to look better, but I can always do a full teardown later on if I want to. Right now, I just want to get it looking better, driving better, and I've got only a couple of days to do it. Well, when they painted it green, originally, it had some metallic in it, but from the factory, it looks like it was white or silver. It looks white. The original EZGO cart. And then somebody along the way, looks like they kind of did it right, took it down, took all the accessories and trim and everything off and painted it, but they didn't get all of it because there's a lot of tape marks. There's no reason to go overboard. They didn't, and it probably was like that for years. And it was just fine. Now the question is, what color should we paint it? Well, I just happen to have a flammable storage cabinet over here with a lot of paint. Well, we got a lot of colors to choose from. I don't want to go back white. I don't have any green. So I'm looking at this metal spec Duplicolor blue. I have a couple of cans of that. We may try base coating it with this straight blue and then top coating it with these. And hopefully it doesn't wrinkle up and look really bad. Let's see what it looks like. I know that both of us like blue and neither of us really cared for the green. So I think a base coat of this will just help this metallic blue pop and cover up all the green. That was bright. I hope the metal spec blue tones that down. This is about a one coat coverage paint. This is ridiculous how well this is covering. That is blue. Holy moly. That is almost one coat coverage. Pretty good. Rust-Oleum 2X. Pretty good stuff. That's some bright blue. Now I've given it about 10 minutes to kind of dry and set up. And now we're going to try this metallic metal specs blue. Hopefully it subdues the paint just a little bit. Brings it out of the clouds. And just a little more classy. That chills it right out. That's a much nicer color. Not upset with the bright blue, it's just not really what we were going to go for. And of course this would look a whole lot better if I did all the body work. But that's, again, not what we're going for. I think we got really good coverage between that base of the primer and the bright blue, and then this on top of it. It just really makes the blue pop. And if you were seeing it up close, you could see the metallic in it. Yes, you see all the bad body scratches and dents and stuff as well, but it's pretty. It's blue. It's got a very dark yet very bright, like it's very dark colored blue, but very vibrant, very bright, metallic, a lot of reflection because it's pretty. It's very pretty. So I'm going to let that kind of cure for about 10 minutes and see if we need to hit any more spots. And if not, I'm going to hit it with some Tractor Clear and hope it doesn't peel. And if it does, I guess we'll start all this over tomorrow. This is just clear, tractor paint clear. We had it left over from the A-Team van build. That is shiny. shiny, I'm telling you. Wow, that thing shines like diamonds and goats, and you know the analogy. It's pretty darn impressive. It still looks really bright on camera, but I'm gonna let it cure overnight. It takes about 48 hours, so we can't touch this paint for a week. So if it doesn't turn out, you guys are gonna see it in the video, good, bad, and ugly. But right now, it is far from ugly. Just don't get too close to see the scratches and the bad body work, and just don't get close. But from back here, driving by, that is one shiny, sparkly golf cart. Yep, pretty good. We're gonna let it dry. I'm gonna come back in the morning. We're gonna go ahead and tackle this front end. We're going to look at some ways to kind of beef this thing up and, you know, everything else. So see you guys in the morning. Okay, we're back this morning and it has dried overnight. It's dry, nice finish. It did not get any shinier or anything. The bodywork did not improve, but it is metallic blue. And I think it looks really good for what it is. If we were hoping for something nicer, higher quality, we would have spent time to do the bodywork. But like I said yesterday, we are not going down that path with this thing because that's what rabbit hole I fell into with the Travelall. So this one, we're just putting some color on it, making it prettier. I started to take things apart, like here on this passenger side, and I immediately realized that was the mistake. Don't do that. And so on this side, if we got any overspray on it, we just wiped it off and clear coated. It's just done quick, down and dirty. I looked up the original on these things, and they did not come with bumpers. So that's why there is an absence there. It did have a rubber or plastic front cover right here. That's what those bolts were for. So we're going to replicate that in some way, but we're going to use our futon. We're going to use the futon that we carved up from the A-Team van, and we're going to use bits and pieces of that to not only make us a front end like fascia of some sort, but also a little push bumper. Even though it's not supposed to have a bumper, it's going to have something. So I've got more parts coming today, and we're going to dig into this thing mechanically as well to see if we can't do anything to kind of spruce it up. Now, being that this thing is from the 90s, we're going to assume somewhere in the 90s, probably early 90s, based upon the body style. I don't have any information really on it, but they really didn't change over that time period. So we're looking at, you know, 30-year-old golf cart. And this thing is a two-stroke. So if you guys know anything about two-stroke, I'm sure we can hop this thing up. But the main thing is we got to remember to put oil in the gas. That's something you don't want to forget later. And some of these did come with an oil injection system, but what I've been reading on the forums, basically those things fail. Now you have no oil going to the engine, engine seizes. So everyone suggests just go ahead and pre-mix your oil. So we'll designate one fuel can to making sure that happens. So in the meantime, I did not find anything that really helped me understand what I can do to pep this thing up. And if there's any restrictions, governors, anything like that, we'll take a look at that while we're at it. So let's dive in. Okay guys, I've done the research on this thing. It is a 1987 EZGO Marathon. Now when you start losing power, and this thing has some power, but not a lot of power. And when that starts to happen, it's generally due to low compression. You're leaking past the rings. Gaskets aren't forming a good seal. All those things kind of come into play. Now this engine has definitely been out before. There's definitely been a replacement carb put on this thing. And of course the governor was disconnected. So at some point, my guess is we're going to have to pull this engine and either swap it for like a 4-stroke. I mean, Harbor Freight's got those. Or we can rebuild this one as a 2-stroke and just hone the cylinder walls and put new rings in and that kind of stuff. But I only had 2 days to get this thing kind of fancied up and fixed up. So what I did instead was I checked the adjustment on the throttle cable and checked to make sure that the gas pedal and the starter electric system was coinciding so that when you hit the gas pedal, you don't end up with a lot of open valve and fuel dumping in before the starter and ignition kicks in, because otherwise you end up with backfiring. It's not great, and we've had that before in the past golf cart. In this case, I think I've made some adjustments that should get up and go a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and check this air filter. I'm sure it's fine. It's got a full-size battery in here, so that's a plus. And since I didn't tape it off, I have all that beautiful blue paint on there. But you know, it's got a little bit of dust on it, but it looks really good, so I'm not going to change it now. But see, that's your inlet right there. Right in there. It's bringing your air in. It's got a nice big outlet going this way. So hopefully there's enough air moving through this thing that we don't need to make any adjustments. But if we do, we can always look at some upgrades along the way. But that's a fairly new fuel filter that was put on there, so we're going to just leave that for now. I've checked all of this wiring. It looks pretty good. I've got one little addition for the battery here just to make sure that's always topped off and ready to go. And the belt has been checked. It's nice and snug. No issues there. It also has another belt on your drive. That's your drive belt. It's basically like a snowmobile for those of you up north, or as Alaskans say, a snow machine. It's just got a big drive belt, and then as you increase speed, it brings that belt, it adjusts the belt on the fly, basically giving you more speed with less effort. Just look it up. Anyway, that belt looks fine, but now we need to get this thing reassembled, add some accessories to it to kind of catch it up to this century, and also to our lake cruising needs. This is going to not only haul myself and Becca around, but any friends or family that we have coming along. And so we need to make sure we have all the amenities. So I'm going to finish reassembling all the things I took off yesterday. We're going to start getting the accessories and start putting them on. So this is just a car floor mat that they had a special cutout that they put in just to get through that gas pedal, but this is to cover a small hole in the floor there. And I hit it with some super clean, but what didn't get clean and obviously got oversprayed we're just going to hit it with this vinyl fabric fusion, and this is flat black, so it's not going to be super shiny. Just going to kind of restore the look of that black plastic and just blend in with the rest of the floor. Now all the rest of this we hit it with super clean, except for the steering wheel. We're going to work on that here in a little bit, and it really came clean, but you can see it's got a hole there. That's what our little floor mat's going to cover up there. But yeah, I think it turned out really good. Now let's figure out this front. Hey guys, let me show you an example of the luck I have. So I'm pulling this futon bed apart, and there's a back rail, there's a front rail in my hand. This is how I get away with so much stuff. I always hear stories about people say, oh, you got away with it, you got lucky, all this. This is just how it goes for me. So I'm looking to build a support system for this front bumper. The bolt holes line up. So I'll be using the ends of this rail on these two mounting pieces, and then we'll just cut it to size and hook us up some brackets and a push bar, and we've got ourselves a front bumper.
Check this out.
If you're having a hard time keeping your project staying up like this, get yourself a magnetic arrow. It'll also help keep pieces straight up and down, like if you're working with flat steel or bar stock, that kind of stuff. It's going to hold it right where we need it. That will allow us to put a few tacks in there, and then it should stay where we want. Testing out a new microphone, so let's see how it works with the helmet on. Take our magnet off, and there goes our ground. But it didn't fall apart. Well, you know what they say, those that can't weld, grind. So we'll fix that up with a little grinder action here in a bit. But for now, it's stuck together, and that's what our goal was. Yeah, we'll hit it with the grinder, clean it up, throw some paint on it, and this thing will look really good. Next, we're gonna figure out how to mount it. Like I said before, we're gonna use these bed rails because the holes lined up perfectly, and that completely 100% dictated why we're using them. But it's gonna be somewhere in here, and we'll get those kind of mocked up. And either we're gonna weld them or we're gonna put some self-tappers in them. But either way, we'll figure out about where we need this after that cools down. That is really still pretty hot. All right, so we'll let that cool down, then we'll start mocking up the bumper. In the meantime, I'm gonna get back to prepping it. We're still waiting on these accessories to show up. Come on, Amazon, you ain't got all day. Brakes work. Well, as you can see, I went ahead and got the roof from over there. It's been patched together over the years. So I'm going to try to see what we can do to fix it and maybe clean it up and try to put it back on top of this thing somehow. I don't know. But it's here, and we got a few parts from Amazon that finally got dropped off. So it's time to start putting stuff back together. Well, at least I got one Amazon package. Now, I heard you guys shouting at the beginning of the video, put it on a lift kit, put 14-inch wheels and tires on it. The budget, it's just not there. We got $400 into this, and now a little bit more. Look at those. They're hubcaps for your golf cart. So we'll put them on like that. That should class this thing right up. Maybe I should paint those wheels first. Be right back. You know, we got the plane, and then we got, bam! Those are pretty sweet. Once I get all the rest of this trim and stuff put on, fix up that seat, get the roof on, finish the front bumper, this is gonna be pretty sweet. In an attempt to bring out a little bit of style and some personal flair, if you've noticed, Becca tends to dress me in flamingo. Pretty much anytime we go anywhere or on a boat or vacation, I have some kind of flamingo outfit.
What?
And she just delights in putting me in flamingo. So I do what every man would do, and I wear it happily with a smile. So we're gonna celebrate her love for those pink birds with a little bit of decal. Now, hopefully, it doesn't immediately rip the paint right off that we just did. So let's see if we can't apply the pink flamingo to the side of the blue buffalo. I kind of think that's what we're going with. We'll see. Trying to make sure I don't get any bubbles on the bird. There we go. And decal number 1 installed. Well, now it's time to really pimp this thing out. And to do so, we got this new steering wheel adapter. Fits on like so. And the new blue steering wheel. This thing's gonna be pretty sick. So I'll work on getting that installed and show you the result. The steering wheel was actually one of the cheapest ones on Amazon, but it did not come with the steering adapter. So that's unfortunate, but is what it is. But now we've got one, and we just need to install it. With the steering wheel installed, we're now going to move on to more of the interior. I mean, it's all exterior, but interior as in seats. Now, I looked everywhere to find seat covers, and yes, there were a few available, but nothing in the colors that I wanted to match with, and I couldn't get here in time to finish this video. So we're gonna do the Buff My Ride the right way with tan duct tape. It's pretty close to the same color, but I look at it this way. This seat's probably been pretty sun damaged. Therefore, anything we do is going to improve it. And if the color's not exact, I don't think that really matters. stand by. We gotta remove the seat. There we go. We want to hide our seam as best we can. Not like you're not gonna see the seam throughout the entire seat. Believe it or not, there is kind of an art to this. A little bit of skill. But let's be honest. We don't want it to look completely horrible. But we need it to cover up this giant hole. And the matching one on the other side. How do you make a straight line? About like that. Trying not to get any wrinkles in it, because if I tape over it with the next layer, which we will, I don't really want to see the wrinkles. It's bad enough we're going to see these ripped out parts. Now there's no rips here on the back, so to conserve tape, we're just going to cut this off. We're taking our high dollar upholstery tape here. That's what we're going to call it. I mean, I at least got tan. So let's see if we can't get through all the rips and tears before we run out of tape. And that's the end of our tape. But we got the majority of the big holes covered up. So we can always just get more tape or a seat cover later. But in the meantime, we've got the big exposed holes covered. And hopefully it doesn't look completely ridiculous once we put it in here. There you go. One renewed seat cover. Yeah, we'll probably get a seat cover for it later. Anyway, let's move on to the next. All right, so whenever somebody's fueling this thing up, we don't want them to accidentally just put straight gas in it. So I got these mixed fuel only stickers, and hopefully if anybody's filling this up, they will just ask. I guess I could write it in right there, but what the mix ratio is. But then we'll find a place to stick it. Or maybe clean that up and put it right there. There we go. Sticker installed. Hopefully that lasts long enough to keep somebody from actually putting the wrong fuel in there. And the other issue is, as cool as this thing is, it's probably not going to be driven all the time. Therefore, we want to make sure that battery stays topped off. And the best way I thought to do that is to get the NOCO Genius 1. Now it has an auxiliary plug here. And then the other side looks like that. Zoom. Plugs right into that one. But it currently has alligator clips on it. So I love these things, but I don't want this to be temporary. So if you look closely, it's already got some ring terminals on there holding it to the alligator clips. So I'm going to see if I can get those off. And if so, I'm going to install them on the battery, hang our plug out from under the seat, and then we can just park this and plug it in every time we stop. We'll always have a freshly charged battery. All right, now with this installed, we can hang that out the seat like that. And never even have to lift the seat to charge it. Just plug it in. And when we're ready to take off, we unplug it and go. Giving this thing a nice little scrub down using some super clean to get this, I guess it's dirt, but also some kind of black nastiness that I don't even want to guess what it is. Don't really care. We'll just go ahead and hit it with the super clean. And then the problem goes away. This will also make sure our surface is nice and clean and degreased. Maybe we'll put a little paint treatment on there and make it match. Wow, that cleans up like new. Now it's a lot cleaner than it was, but it's still stained from just years of sitting outside and doing work. That's what this golf cart was doing. But the super clean really does dig in there and get a lot of this stuff out. I'm gonna give it one more pass over to get some of this stuff out even more. If I would hit it with more super clean and pressure wash it, I'm sure I could get a lot more of this out. But I have another plan. So let's let this dry and we'll jump to that. Well, this thing's starting to shape up, but we got to figure out how to put the roof on. Out of the 4 uprights to hold the roof on, only one of them survived whatever happened to this thing. I've got the other parts, but they were mangled together, not in the best shape. And we don't really want to just put it back like that. So I've got one here on the table that's in 2 pieces, and we're going to see if we can get them to go back together. And we'll use some metal strapping and some self-tappers and see if that holds. And if not, we can always use JB Weld, because I don't have an aluminum welder. So that's kind of where we're at right now, unless we can come up with another solution. But this will get the back uprights in place, and then we'll just start working through trying to figure out the front. Make sure that that aluminum aligns. Like it just stress fractured right there. So we're gonna stress it just a little more and put some self-tappers into it. How about there? You think that'll work? Yep, okay. Now, I'd absolutely love to come up with a more permanent solution, but this is just where we're at right now. We've got to get this thing back together and get it back to Becca. She doesn't know everything that we're doing. We've got a big reveal coming up, and I can't do that unless this thing's completely back together. Okay, guys, now this is not a permanent solution, but it's definitely better than what it was. It's now one solid piece again, and we can still put our bolt through it. I mean, it's just a piece of plastic roof, so it's not like it's gonna hold a lot of weight, but if we notice that it's starting to flex or anything like that, we can obviously be looking for another piece like this or come up with a way to make one. Once we figure out how to do the front ones, maybe we remake the back ones at some point. I don't know. Well, let's go install this one, and then we can figure out the front. Well, we now have 2, and 2 is better than 1, because 1 is the loneliest number. All right, now 2 uprights are in place. We got to figure out the front ones, and then we can mount the roof. Now, what good would it be to have your guests in the back and not have a place to put their drink? So I got these cheap little cup holders off of Amazon, and we're just going to install them with some self-tappers. Oh wait, our self-tappers are too long. We got a fix for that. Just give it a little trim here. Sometimes you got to graduate beyond safety squints. That just wasn't enough, so this should help. Now that's a custom install. The reason why I have the jack is, watch this. The whole back of this thing just squats, and I've got a solution. So instead of getting crazy with lift kits or air shocks or anything ridiculous, I went and got the cheapest set of coilover shocks I could find on Amazon that measure out and fit this golf cart, with the extra spring providing the extra support we need to have more passengers on the back. Usually a couple of golf bags don't weigh this thing down like this, but put a couple of people on there on the weekend at the lake, we're going to need a little more support. So I think this will do the trick. Holy crap, a free zip tie. That's almost worth as much as this seat. Well, Houston, we have a problem. They sent the wrong frickin' shocks. They'll work on the front, but they won't work on the back. Well, this is how this project's gone this whole time. Every time I get a part, it's either the wrong part or it's not shipped. Like, it takes way too long for it to ship. I thought I was ordering the right part because I put eyeballs on the front shocks, not realizing these rear shocks are a different shock. I may have some laying around, but I really doubt it. Either way, we know the solution. We know how to fix it. So let's just move on. We'll do the wrong thing and we'll mount these shocks on the front because of the pretty blue. Well, as predicted, trying to move the rear shocks that I bought that don't fit on the rear to the front is just as easy as you would expect. So I'm going to get the universal removal tool here. And we're going to remove the shocks the wrong way. Remove. These shocks were collapsed anyway, so it's best that we just get them off of here. Unfortunately, this one, there we go, just had to be helped out a little bit. All right, with the removals complete and the smoke finally clearing, we're going to install these new shocks. This should be just super easy. One done. Yep. Let's do the other one. Needless to say, this was not a long travel front end. I mean, it didn't have a lot of sway from side to side, so it took a little bit to get these super stiff coilover shocks installed. But in the process, I knocked the tack welds off our fancy bumper. So I need to finish reattaching that, and then we need to finish that so we can install the lights and get this thing finished, because I got a reveal to do today. So let's see if we can knock it out. One futon recycled custom bull bar. I'm thinking how that work? I don't even want it. That's how we learn. Let's tack it into place and see what we think. Now when you're making custom art, you don't have to be exact. I'm not using a tape measure. I'm kind of eyeballing it, trying to center it to see how it looks. And then we're just going to tack it in place, and if we don't like it, we can just grind off the tack welds. We're going to have to stiffen that up if we're going to expect it to take any kind of force, but you know, at this point, it doesn't look too bad. Let's step back and take a look at it. Yep, not bad. Well, I discovered the third upright for the roof still has its bottom piece, so we're going to see if we can reattach that. And when you don't have the right parts, you make them. So. And that's how it's done. So I got the third upright that we'll put right here. And it's still got the bottom piece, so what I'm doing is I'm taking pieces of futon and I've cut it and I've shaped it to fit, put some self-tappers in it. Went ahead and cut it on this side and hammered it around, contoured it to fit. Missed a spot. Perfect. And then when we're done, we'll drill holes all the way through to match the existing holes that were there. And then we will mount this right there, and it will give us our third upright. We just got to figure out what we're going to do with the fourth one. I'm going to continue my metal fab work. Call this Buff's Fab Shop. Because there's really no other fab shops in Oklahoma, right? And voila, we have a custom-made bracket. It's pretty sturdy. I mean, the steel could always rust. I went ahead and threw some tack welds on it just to help hold it together, but I think the metal and self-tappers should do the job. So now we're going to test fit it into our piece here, and then we'll touch it up. recycling hardware off the futon because there was no hardware included with this. And just like that. Come on. Get in there. That looks like it might work. Now for the real fab work. All right, I got my fabricated piece here. We're gonna slowly put this into the position it needs to be in. See if we can't squeeze it in there. It's a little wider than my futon piece. It's a little more forward than the other one. It really needs to be back here. Can we make that work? Get the fabricator favorite tool and we'll give it a little tappy tap. Perfect. Now let's self-tapper that one. And we got ourselves a roof. Well, before we wrap this up, we need to take this bumper back off, get it all cleaned up, ready for paint. And then this fancy little plastic shield actually goes right where the bumper mounts. So I've got it all cleaned up. We'll get that back in place. Get this bumper, just clean up the welds. Those who can't weld grind, right? But that's pretty structural. So I'm not unhappy with it. Will it take a hit? Maybe. But I guarantee whatever it hits is gonna hit this before it hits the actual golf cart. Don't know until we try. Not too bad, made out of futon parts. But I also wanna drill some holes. I mean, I got 2 holes here, they may work, but we wanna mount some lights. So let me see what I got for mounts. So the bolt they supplied is not long enough to go through this hole that's already there. So I could go dig through the bolt bin and try to find one, or I could do the easy thing and just put a self-tapper in it. It's gonna be just below the hole, or should I go above? Either way. You're really not gonna see the hole, that's the point. Well, I was very tempted to do black. I thought it offset really well compared to the silver. Wasn't really down with that either, but more I look at it, I think chrome will get us home. Plus, I'm out of black, so this is what we're doing. That's chrome. Yeah, we might just silver it and then chrome it. They say nobody re-chrome stuff anymore. Right here at Buff's Garage. I am re-chroming, starting with a base of silver chrome, and then we'll go to the metallic shiny chrome. It's gonna look pretty spiffy. And I'll do it for, I don't know, half the cost of sending it off to a chrome plating place. Just don't complain about the runs and drifts. There's plenty of them. Now we'll do the chrome coat. Got a lot more metallic in it. This gives it a little bit deeper, shinier finish. Don't mind all the bad welding and grinding because it's a golf cart. We just don't care that much. We're pimping the ride, or buffing the ride. I don't know. It's a work in progress. All right, I just got done adding a couple of coats of tractor paint clear. That'll just give it a little bit extra shine. Looks pretty good. I'll let that kind of cure and dry, and then we'll reinstall it. Then we got to clean this thing up and present it to Becca. I think she's going to be pleasantly surprised. All right, guys, it's time for the big reveal. Becca hasn't seen it yet, but we're going to bring her in and finally show her the golf cart, how we've buffed it up. Let's go get our mark. Okay, Becca, come on in.
Awesome.
What do you think of your buffed ride?
It's pretty fancy. But does it run?
It does in fact run. And we added a bumper for when you want to hit things. We made that out of an old futon. We added some lights from Temu. We fixed your uprights, again, with futon parts. We cleaned and painted the whole thing. We added you a 12-volt port, USB, and a volt gauge so you'll always know if you've got power or not. We even put in a screen because everybody needs a TV in their golf cart with surround sound. We added you a custom blue pimped out steering wheel, Dollar General upholstery to hide all those holes that were there. We got your second row seat that was already here all cleaned up, repainted. We even added cup holders for your guests. We put some 20-inch, well, 8-inch, we put some golf plastic hubcaps on, but they give this ride a whole different look. We put coilover shocks on this thing to handle all the extra bumps along the road. We fixed the roof. This thing had no roof. We fixed all these uprights. We cleaned up all this trim. And best of all, we added pink flamingos to both sides. If you turn the key on, it runs. It'll run better if you have the door open. There you go. I told you. It goes. The best part is, there's no governor on this cart. So you can rip it as hard as it'll actually go, which isn't very far. So for times like that, we added a tow hitch on the front so you can hook on and pull it with your car. Oh, and one more thing. It now has a battery charger. So when you're parked, you just hook this up right here under the seat, plug this in, and your battery will always be charged. Well, all right, Becca, what do you think of your new ride?
I think it's pretty awesome. Brewer's gonna love to take it for a spin when he comes down.
Awesome. Well, there's just one last thing we gotta do. Give you that, your keys, and you've officially been buffed.
Thanks.
Hey guys, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit the join button down below to join the Tappy Tap Club. And don't forget your Buffs Garage merch at buffsgarage.com. That's how you do that.